This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Welcome into You on this Thursday. I'm Rebecca Smith.
I'm Bill Bryant, and Kentucky Mornings start right here on WKYT. We're glad you're with us.
Now at 6 a.m., police are still trying to end an active standoff safely. There is a child involved in this. Coming up, we'll take you live to the scene with the latest.
Keep you updated on that this morning. Also on WKYT, President Obama will be in Florida this morning to pay respects to the families of those killed in the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Mark Taylor's been convicted of murdering a UK chef. Find out how long the jury recommended his life sentence to be just ahead.
Actually, a pretty good looking start to the day, and it's quite nice outside too. It feels pretty good, but by the afternoon we're going to be right there around 88 degrees. And a couple of more rumbles of thunder in the forecast, but it's not for everybody. I'm going to show you exactly where I expect these storms coming up.
And we'll see you shortly.
We begin this morning with breaking news in Lexington. Police have been involved in a standoff for hours near Versailles Road.
This all started just after midnight on Deauville Drive, that is near Cambridge Drive. Police say an armed man is holed up inside a home with a child. WKYT's Hillary Thornton is live now at the scene with the latest on the situation. Hillary, good morning.
Good morning. That's right. The standoff out here still going on 5 hours after it started. The emergency response unit is here on scene, and we are told that there is still a young child inside that home with a man who is armed with a gun. This is happening in the 1900 block of Deauville Drive. Investigators say neighbors heard shots coming from the home and police were called. When officers got there, they saw he was armed. Then once they identified themselves, the man opened fire on them. Lexington police say they did not fire back, instead taking cover. They say the suspect then ran around the house and then back inside. Now, there was a little confusion at first because they weren't exactly sure where he went. They brought out a K9 unit and they did a track with the K9 unit. They then felt confident that that man did go back inside the home. Now, this was all going on with 2 young kids and his wife inside. Police then put a spotlight on the house and were able to talk him into letting the wife out. Then a child was released as well. However, one child does remain inside there. Now, if you can avoid this area throughout the morning until this all gets resolved, police do have several roadways surrounding the home blocked off at this time, including where I'm standing on Oxford Circle, as well as a large portion of Cambridge Drive. For now, live in Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
All right, Hillary, thank you. We'll stay on top of that. Also, we have breaking news this morning in Fleming County. WKYT News almost on the scene now of a large fire near Flemingsburg. We're being told that a local business is up in flames on Kentucky 32 there. Stay with WKYT News and WKYT.com. We'll be updating the story as we get new info. President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden will travel to Florida today. They'll be meeting with survivors and paying their respects to the families of those killed in the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. The president is also expected to personally thank the first responders who saved countless lives. The first funeral service was held yesterday in Orlando. Javier Rees was one of the 49 people killed on Sunday morning.
Students and faculty at the University of Kentucky honored those people killed in the shooting in Orlando. Several student groups put on a memorial service in the main building and spoke about the importance of embracing people of all backgrounds. Memorial Hall was also lit in rainbow colors to show solidarity with the gay community. Well, on to another crazy story out of Orlando. Beaches at the world's most visited theme park remain closed this morning after a toddler was killed by an alligator in an attack. 2-year-old Lane Graves was wading in shallow water at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort when a gator dragged him into the Seven Seas Lagoon. More than 12 hours later, the little Nebraska boy's body was found intact just 15 yards from where he was attacked.
The former president of the University of the Cumberlands in Williamsburg has filed a federal lawsuit against the institution that he led for 35 years. Our Michelle Chamberlain is at our alert desk with details on that. Michelle.
The former president of the University of the Cumberland says the school owes him money. Dr. Jim Taylor has filed suit in federal court against the school he led for 3.5 decades. The Herald Leader reports Taylor says the university has threatened to cut off the retirement he was promised of nearly $400,000 a year. Taylor's attorney says he and his wife are heartbroken over their decades of service. Now, Bill, the university has offered to settle for less, saying it can't justify using tuition and donations to the school for those payments.
Thank you, Michelle. Today we'll hear from friends of Lexington's latest murder victim as he is laid to rest. 27-year-old Douglas D.J. Jordan was killed a week ago on East Maxwell Street. Police say he was walking with a woman when he was shot in the head. No arrests have been made in that. Jordan's mother says he loved playing sports and even kept notebooks of football plays that he drew up. A celebration of life ceremony will start at 11 o'clock this morning at Lewis County High School.
A Lexington jury is recommending nearly 50 years in prison for a man now convicted in a 2013 murder. The jury found Mark Taylor guilty in the murder of Alex Johnson. The UK employee's body was found in a barrel in the Kentucky River. Before the jury reached a decision, they heard once again from the prosecution and the defense.
What kind of person, after killing their best friend over drugs, of all things, stuffs their body in a barrel?
The jury recommended that Taylor serve 22 years for the murder, 22 years for kidnapping, and 5 years for tampering with physical evidence. The jury recommended Taylor serve the 3 sentences consecutively, which would be a total of 49 years. He'll be formally sentenced on July 22nd.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
The clouds have actually cleared on out for the most part. A couple of clouds here and there, but it's a nice start to the day. If you're one of those walkers runners early in the morning, take off and enjoy. It really doesn't feel all that bad. Once that sun starts to really rise, then you'll start to feel that humidity back and also some pretty warm temperatures. We got a lot going on this weekend. And when you start to get off toward the weekend, it feels really good. It looks really good, but we still got to get through another shot at a couple of rumbles of thunder. That front is still well toward the north of us. And it's not, the actual low pressure system moves to the north of us, but it throws a trailing cold front in the region later on tonight and into tomorrow. So what we're going to be feeling this morning, humid temperature or humid air, and also those temperatures in the mid 60s. By the afternoon, we're upper 80s to around 90 degrees. With those couple of rumbles of thunder, most will be dry today. Most of us will be dry. The best chance of rain is going to be far south and southeastern zones. As you get off into the mountainous regions, that's the best opportunity to not only see just a couple of rumbles of thunder, but also the possibility of a stray strong to severe cell. So that's something to watch out for later on today. But for the most part, most of us will stay dry. We get off into the evening and night, and we'll see that fade away. Like I said, tonight is when that front moves on through. Much better weather in store in the next couple of days. But that severe threat for today, there's a marginal risk. I will tell you this, I'm just looking at the latest weather data, and I just don't see this staying intact. By 9:20, we actually have an update from Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, and they'll actually update these areas. We don't put these maps out here. This is actually from the Storm Prediction Center, so the shaded areas is from out west, but they actually monitor and watch all these different indices and whatnot, parameters, to actually see where the severe concerns are. But I would expect them to cut that off even more. The far southeastern zones, that's probably a good bet that we could actually see that. But once that front moves through, guys, it's going to be really, really nice. Don't forget, we got the Cowbell Days kicking off tomorrow in Stanford and Lincoln County. And that's a big event down in Lincoln County. So it should be good Friday into the weekend. Remember, Friday is only a small chance of rain. Farther east you are, the better likelihood of actually seeing one of those passing showers.
Well, there's going to be a lot of glad dads this weekend. I was just waiting to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought you were going to say more cowbell again.
Yeah.
You know, but
And that, too.
That's exactly right.
all right, lots of fun events coming up in good weather to enjoy it. Thank you, Micah. 6:09 on WKYT.
Let's bring you a little bit of traffic right now.
Right, let's go to Officer Don with a check on live drive traffic. He's out there right now at 98.1 The Bull getting in place. We'll let you know what is going on here with our current map. Things are moving along fine. We have no reports of any issues in the region this morning, and it's a beautiful day. There's the Lexington Fayette Urban County Government's live drive cam. That is New Circle and Winchester Road. Much of the eastern part of Lexington had issues with power outages overnight, and some of those intersections had no lights, and so the police were directing traffic. All that is over with now.
Seems like everybody is on vacation today or something because there aren't a whole lot of cars.
Pretty quiet out there, you know. No school, lots of June vacations.
Yeah, lucky for you if you are.
Yeah, some folks maybe just sleeping in a little bit later today. More news coming up on WKYT on your Thursday morning.
A filibuster went on for hours as Democrats aggressively pressed their legislative response to the Orlando shooting massacre. We'll have more on the call for stricter gun laws on WKYT. Welcome back. The time is 6:13 this morning. President Barack Obama will be traveling to Florida later today to meet with survivors and families of those killed in the Pulse nightclub shooting.
CBS News correspondent Kenneth Craig is in Orlando with the latest on the investigation.
FBI investigators are methodically piecing together Omar Mateen's movements leading up to the deadly shooting rampage inside the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. A former co-worker said Mateen was a ticking time bomb.
Omar was a deeply disturbed man. He was full of hate, full of rage.
In an ominous Facebook post minutes before the attack, the shooter wrote, "You kill innocent women and children by doing U.S. airstrikes. Now taste the Islamic State vengeance." CBS News sources say Mateen's wife, Noor Salman, knew her husband was planning the attack. She also drove with him to stake out the gay club.
At the end of all of our interviews, however long that takes, if someone is able to be charged in this investigation, we will bring them to justice.
President Obama and Vice President Biden will arrive in Orlando later today to meet with survivors, first responders, and families of the victims killed in the attack.
The first funeral service for one of the shooting victims was held yesterday. In Orlando, family and friends remembered 40-year-old Javier Jorge Reyes. Those who knew him called him a fun, free spirit. Dozens of people gathered across the street to show support. One held a sign that said, "Orlando loves you." Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Orlando.
Of the 53 people injured in the shooting, 30 remain in the hospital this morning. The Senate Homeland Security Committee is asking Facebook to provide them with the shooter's online activity. Well, nearly 15 hours is how long Senator Chris Murphy and his Democratic colleagues filibustered as they vowed to hold the Senate floor until Congress acted on gun control legislation. That filibuster was in response to the Orlando attack and how the gunman was able to buy weapons despite having previously been on an FBI terror watch list. The Senate's number 2 Republican, John Cornyn, says he is working with Senator Dianne Feinstein on a compromise proposal. The proposal will seek to block those who pose terror from buying weapons. Both presumptive presidential nominees are also talking about toughening up gun laws in the country. Hillary Clinton spoke on the topic yesterday, saying if someone is too dangerous to fly on an airplane, they are too dangerous to buy a gun. Donald Trump also tweeted that when he next meets with the National Rifle Association, he will talk about not allowing people on the terrorist watch list or the no-fly list to buy guns. FBI data showed that people who were on the terror watch list last year were involved in background checks 244 times. Of those cases, 223 were able to still buy firearms. Bernie Sanders will be addressing his millions of supporters tonight. He is scheduled to make an online video address beginning at 8:30 Eastern Time to talk about what is next for his campaign. Search crews in Egypt have located the wreckage of the Egypt Air flight that crashed into the Mediterranean Sea last month. Egypt says pieces of the plane are in several locations. They are not specifying where. 66 people were on board when the flight went down on May 19th on a flight from Paris to Cairo. 2 weeks ago, teams detected underwater signals from one of the plane's so-called black boxes. Investigators will be looking at the plane's flight data and cockpit voice recorders once they are located and taken to Egypt. The Walt Disney Company has now opened its first theme park in China. The $5.5 billion Shanghai Disneyland opened up with a kickoff of singers before Disney CEO Bob Iger took the stage to welcome the park's first guests. His speech was then followed by an official ribbon-cutting ceremony. Disney officials expect the park to generate $1.5 billion to $4.5 billion in revenue a year.
Pretty neat. 6:17 is the time this morning. A shortage of air traffic controllers could mean even more delays over at the airport. The number of air traffic controllers is at a 27-year low and even declined further in the first 3 months of the year. Part of the problem stems from a 2013 hiring freeze because of congressional budget battles. Add to that, it takes up to 4 years to fully train new hires. In London, a flotilla of boats sailed up the River Thames to the House of Parliament, signaling support for Britain's exit from the European Union over EU fishing policies. The vessels were greeted by boats with pro-Britain EU supporters, including musician and philanthropist Bob Geldof. Well, thanks to digital disruption, the physical presence of Bank of America is shrinking fast. Bank of America says it has 23% fewer branches and 37% fewer workers than it did in 2009. That trend is expected to continue. A person familiar with the matter told CNN Money that Bank of America plans to cut another 8,000 jobs from its consumer business over time. Bank of America's shrinking headcount and branch footprint is a reflection of the powerful shift in habits by users. Greece's central bank says it agrees with international forecasts that the country will emerge from a recession next year. In a new report, the Bank of Greece says it predicts about a 2.5% growth next year and is urging bailout lenders to ease Greece's debt obligations. Well, Bed Bath & Beyond has acquired home furnishings company One Kings Lane. The big box retailer didn't disclose the value of the deal other than to say the amount paid was not material. The bargain deal comes after One Kings Lane had at one time been valued as high as $1 billion, and they have a lot of nice furniture bill over there at One Kings Lane.
All right, it'll be interesting to see if they try to integrate that into Bed Bath & Beyond or continue separately, or what happens with that. Our time this morning is 6:19 on WKYT this morning. We're just getting started, keeping you updated on all the latest news. And we're also following this morning. No shirt, no shoes, no pants, no problem. London's first naked restaurant is opened up, and it is quite cheeky.
And it's a huge, huge wait. You want to hear this story. It's an interesting story, but a hot Thursday, couple of rumbles of thunder. Front moves through tonight. That'll bring us much better conditions. I'm talking all about that. And your 7-day coming up next.
Welcome back to WKYT this morning. It's 6:23 now. Lexington police are still trying to end a standoff that has been going on for hours this morning. That's what's trending at this hour. This overnight story continuing. The standoff got underway about midnight. A man began shooting at police outside his home on Deauville Drive. Police say 2 children and his wife were inside the home when it started. He has since let the wife and 1 child go, but police say 1 child remains inside the home with him.
A Lexington jury has found Mark Taylor guilty in the 2013 murder of Alex Johnson. The jury recommended Taylor serve the 3 sentences consecutively, which would be a total of 49 years. He'll be formally sentenced on July 22nd.
Calm after the storms this morning, and there were some power outages and so forth. It was a little bit of a doozy, Micah.
Yeah, it was. And you know, once those moved on through, they weren't extremely strong storms. What you got out of it was some lightning, and we could see more lightning for today. Not for everybody. We'll talk about that in just a few seconds, but right now, 64 degrees in Jackson. Things look great. Anywhere you look, 66 now in Lexington. Still a bit humid, especially as that sun starts to rise and you get that heat going on. You got the heat and humidity later on today. And once we hit the afternoon, it's going to be that shot at a couple of isolated cells here and there. Now, it's not for everybody, remember that. The farther southeast you are into, say the Appalachians, that's where you're going to be seeing that chance of rain into the forecast. Here in Lexington, it's just a very small chance. I'd say most actually stay dry today, and that'll take you off into the evening. By 8 or 9 p.m., they're long gone. They're moved off into Tennessee, and then we don't really have a chance at any rumbles throughout the next few days. Now, we'll have a small chance of rain tomorrow, but guys, the focus of the forecast is that front moving through awesome weekend weather coming up. I'm going to show you how low our temperatures go, and also is that humidity going to work on out. That's coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thank you. Just into WKYT, a traffic alert for you. Russell Cave near Winburn Drive is blocked in both directions. It's due to what is described as a serious accident. We have no word on injuries, but again, Russell Cave blocked both directions near Winburn this morning.
Yeah, we'll continue to bring you the latest details on that as we get them. And check out this next story. A fever of stingrays spotted swimming north in Tampa Bay.
Right, a group of rays is called a fever. Several types of stingrays frequent the bay, so it's not exactly clear what kind of stingrays these are, although the cow-nose sea rays are tending to be what travel in these large squads. That's the other term that's used. In the bay, they migrate north in late spring from areas in western Florida over to Mexico.
That's amazing,
what
isn't
a sight
it?
To see, huh?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, a new restaurant in London is taking the old no shoes, no shirt, no service rule. They're stripping it down.
Yeah, speaking of sights to see, right? In fact, the eatery the rule is the less clothing, the better. The Bunyadi is London's very first naked restaurant. The only rules are no cell phones and clothing is optional. The cuisine, like the customers, also raw with vegan and non-vegan dishes. So picky eaters might need to turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Don't drop trout just yet, though. Bunyadi currently has a waiting list of about, get this, 46,000. So you might get in, but only barely, and it's going to take you a while.
Interesting. I like the little wordplay there. Right. Very cheeky. Right?
You're right. Okay, 6:27 on WKYT this morning. It's good to have you with us. We have all of our top stories coming up.
Well, of course, that tragic story out of Orlando, really a few of them, but the one in particular, the attack that happened there, it's actually got bars in Lexington taking a bit of a closer look at how they're securing their facilities. We'll have more on that coming up at 6:30.
That local angle ahead on WKYT. Also, tomorrow's Mega Millions jackpot is $310 million, and Saturday's Powerball jackpot is $169 million. Keep it here on WKYT this morning.